with me in the show is none other than Rich or Taptapkaboom. Welcome to Bitcoin Live.
Hey, thank you so much. It's really good to be here, Nick. It's kind of funny, like Taptapkaboom is quite a mouthful at times, so well done for saying it. But sometimes it's best to just be like Taptapkaboom, although you can't really like say that all the time. But you know, Rich is also good.
Well, it's a really cool name, and we're gonna also ask about why you picked that name. And usually we ask the question to introduce yourself, but you actually have a really cool clip on Twitter, which I'm gonna play right now, and then we'll go back to the interview. So here we go.
Awesome.
1, 2.
Hey, I'm Rich Armstrong, aka Taptapkaboom. You may know me as the artist behind the Doodleverse, Happy Sun, For Love, Realms of Weird, and plenty of other collections. Or you may know me as the guy who taught you how to make a website, or create abstract art, or make fun animations. Or maybe you know me as the author of the Perfect 100-Day Project. Well, I'm all of these things. I'm an ADHD artist who draws, codes, animates, experiments, and explores. I can also dance and touch my nose with my tongue. And I'm fully alive when I'm creating like a kid and when I'm helping others create and succeed. And it's really good to have you here. Welcome to my universe.
So that was a really cool intro. I should actually make something like that myself.
Hey, I'm Rich Armstrong.
And I'll turn it off.
Who's that guy in the background talking? Oh my goodness.
So yeah, welcome to the show. It's really good to have you. So let's just start at the beginning. Why that name?
So in the beginning, I used to be a UI and UX designer, and it was all about like reducing the amount of clicks from like entering a website or an app to getting what you came there to do. So like tap, kaboom. Okay, we're done. Like I can check out my shopping. I can pay somebody. Whatever it is, it's like the shortest amount of clicks or taps to get something. But then I didn't really like continue with that. I thought I was going to do blogging and all kinds of stuff with that name. But then it sounded like really experimental. So I got into the Lucius Fox kind of stage, Batman's research and development guy. And I was like, okay, I'm all about experimentation. And that's when I started my Instagram journey, just around like anything and everything that I did. Artistic wise, I did some coding stuff. I did some 3D stuff, just like putting it out there. I was just like experimenting. And as I experimented with stuff, I began to teach other people how to do what I learned how to do. And then that just grew into this teaching brand and me being the teacher. And I always try to make things experimental, fun, approachable, get people to, learn something very quickly, very easily. And Taptapkaboom just really sounds like that. It sounds fun. It sounds experimental. And then, yeah, at the start of last year, I just took that into this NFT art world with me. I didn't really intentionally choose to not put my name there. It was just Taptapkaboom. I think I've had a Twitter account for a long time. And that's just the reason. It's kind of like accidental, experimental, a cool name. And maybe also Rich Armstrong is just not a very unique name. There's a lot of Armstrongs, a lot of Richards in the world. So Taptapkaboom, I don't know, I've been able to nail it almost across all social media platforms.
Well, it sticks, right? And but Armstrong is also a very famous name, right? I think that would also work. So yeah, really fun to have you in the show, and we're going to touch upon all these topics, right? I'm really cool that you're also into education, because that's basically what our platform is also about. But you have this really cool YouTube channel, which we'll show later, where you actually teach people how to, how to create NFTs. So my next question is kind of obvious, right? How did you get into NFTs and how did you get into crypto? Because you're also into crypto if you're into NFTs, right?
Yeah, you have to be. Sometimes I don't like that. Sometimes I do. But at the start of last year, before the start of last year, I think in 2018, 2019, I had some guys who had reached out to me. I think they're called Maker's Place, and they're like, hey, we love your art on Dribble, more of my experimentation. We'd love to put it on our site. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. Like, are you a print on demand kind of a site? They're like, no, we just sell digital art. And I'm like, interesting. So like people just buy digital art. They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. Cool. Had to sign up with this weird like Fox thing, MetaMask, put money in there. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, okay, if this works out, cool. And then I think 3 years later, 2021, I got like 3 or 4 sales, got some Ethereum. And I was like, okay, how much is that worth? And I was like 300 euros per piece. And I was like, damn, that's a lot of money for just my digital art. That's crazy. And then I had a look at a couple of the other Instagram people that I follow. Some of them were making 5,000 up to 80,000 euros per art sale. And I was like, what's going on here? Hold on. Did some more research. People sold for 69 million. I was like, damn, like what is going on here? So that like propelled me to look into NFTs, because I was like, look, this if people are like wanting to like pay for good art, like I'll make good art. They can pay me rather than this guy over here. And so at the beginning of 2022, I was like, I want to be authentic and I want to make money from my imagination, because I'm great at teaching, great at UI, UX, but I have this like imagination that is just on fire all the time, but it's kind of weird to get paid for that. So that's what my 2 goals were for 2022. I didn't teach another class that year just because I dove like headfirst into NFTs and I got to use my imagination. I went back to the style, which was just doodling, and I doodled over 100 pieces of unique one-of-one art last year. I did like 2 unique collections. I think that's 202 pieces. I did generative art collections. I just went like full blown into it. I started on Ethereum. I tried Tezos. I tried Solana. I was listening to podcasts. I was listening to Twitter Spaces. I was jumping into Discords. I was like FOMO buying stuff. It was intense all over the show. And so, yeah, that's how I got into it. And it's been a wild, wild ride.
Oh yeah, the crypto and NFTs are very, very wild. So how did you like the bull runs and the bear markets?
Well, yeah, it was kind of weird. So while we were still in the bull run, I remember paying up to like 140 euros just to mint something on Foundation. And I was like, this is a lot of money. Like where I'm from in South Africa, that's like a monthly salary for a domestic worker. And I'm just going, yeah, I just like to just put it on the blockchain. Like here's a month's salary just to put something there. Luckily, I made some money selling NFTs as well. So I had like a bit of like capital to play with, which was great. But then, yeah, it was busy. Like on Ethereum, it just felt like I was like one small drop in the ocean. I had no idea where to start. On Twitter, I used to like shill my stuff. If you guys don't know what shilling is, just like marketing yourself, selling yourself. I just try to like say, hey, here's my art, here's my art, here's my art. I join Discords and try to like, tell people about my stuff there. Just thousands of people trying to do the same thing. Some of their artwork was terrible. Some of it was beautiful. But the thing that kept on like inspiring me was that I kept on wanting to create. And so I tried Tezos because there was more art there. There was less cost to mint stuff. People were selling stuff for cheaper. So I was like, okay, let's try there. And I tried Solana because it's the same kind of thing. Nothing. I got Foundation invites. I got invited to a Solana art platform. Still like absolutely nothing. So I was on this thing called 100-day project where I was going to create a piece of art every day for 100 days, mint it to a blockchain. And I was just on this journey trying to figure out what an NFT was, like how to market it, like where the best platforms were to put my stuff, what the different blockchains were about. And then a mutual friend connected myself and this guy called Saab Suerdas. I think his brother's in the audience here, Tunç Suerdas. And we had a quick meeting online and he was like, come try this thing called AVALANCHE. It's a blockchain. I'm in this really cool Discord and there are a bunch of people there, a bunch of collectors and artists. And, we're having a really good time. And, the collectors are, wanting stuff before I've even listed it. And my stuff lists or sells out in seconds, sometimes, or minutes, sometimes seconds. I was like, well, cool. Let's try this. What is AVALANCHE? And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. It's actually a pretty cool blockchain. And apparently like the tech is amazing, but I didn't really understand any of that then. So I tried it out. I was like, okay, let's stop on Tezos. Let's go to AVALANCHE. Let's try it out. So I began listing stuff about 5 a week and then auctioning them. And it started off at like 0.5 AVAX, 0.65 AVAX, which at the time, I think AVAX was $90, $80, $100 for one AVAX.
Yeah.
So it's quite high. And I made some sales. I was like, whoa, I made some sales. Like, that's awesome, So I kept
It's better than Tezos.
Yeah. So it was just like, it was super cool, man. And that, like, I'm telling you, that like first set of sales that you get, no matter how much money it is, it's amazing. Oh, actually, I got one on Tezos, but it was for €5. So I bought like an ice cream or something that was more than €5. So that was weird. But yeah, it changes something when you feel like your art is wanted. And especially when it's authentic art. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that I was doing since I was a kid. I'm doodling, I'm having fun, and people are buying my stuff. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, as an artist, you know, that's the nice thing about NFTs, right? You can just make stuff and people will actually buy it sometimes, right? I mean, we have to be also clear that a lot of people don't make sales or make less sales than they hope. So I always say, you know, go do NFTs just because you want to do NFTs, right? Not because you are hoping to make like $1 million or something.
Yeah, it's a very different business model if you want to make $1 million, especially like in a given year or 6 months or something. But my philosophy was, look, I want to create art anyway. I'm an experimenter. I'm always playing around stuff. I'm ADHD, so I'm going like 3D, animation, illustration. Oh, Procreate's got something new. Oh, let's try this. So I'm always putting stuff on Dribble, on Behance. I'm collaborating with people, putting stuff on Instagram, teaching stuff. So I was like, well, if I mint stuff to a blockchain and someone wants to buy it, fantastic. If nobody wants to buy it, like, it still catalogs my journey of being creative. So that was just, you know, it's a very innocent way of creating stuff. Like, if this works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
and like you say, experimenting, trying new things, like new technologies. I mean, it's really fun. And one of the really fun things that I like about NFTs, besides sort of the liveliness and all the amazing art that's being created, is also it's very collaborative. And, you know, you got all these people who are, it's very easy to reach out and have fun and find mutual creative people and, you know, stimulate ideas. And I guess, because that's sort of my next question, you put in your bio ADHD, right? So I imagine that that's also sort of the driving force behind much of your art and the sort of the shape that your art gets, right? Can you sort of tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. So, like, from an early age, I've been an artist or a doodler. Like, I've never called myself an artist except for maybe like halfway through 2022. I would say like a tinkerer, an experimenter, creative, definitely creative. All right. But yeah, like, as a kid, I had ADD, which apparently is now the same thing as ADHD, just a different form. So I would often just be like imagining stuff like, oh, are we meant to be like working? Damn, like, I can't concentrate. Like, I'm thinking about knights and castles here. Sorry. And so that's like carried through into my work. And I have so many ideas. Like, I have lists and lists and lists of ideas for businesses, illustrations, like movies, books, everything and anything. But when it comes to like actually doing stuff, ADHD people suck at doing things, like actually finishing things. So the fact that I can sit down for, you know, between 1 and 4 hours and create a piece of artwork that has like an idea, a story, some kind of weird thing going on, it's amazing. It's like, I finished it, I mint it, I list it, it's on the blockchain. You know, if I have a business idea, it's like I have to like slog through 5 years worth of like all kinds of stuff to get this thing off the ground. Like, I can't do that as an ADHD person unless there's a lot of little things going on in the meantime. So yeah, that's what I do as an ADHD artist. It's just like work on these micro things. One of one art, perfect. And then the bigger things like generative kind of artworks. Ooh, like, it's tricky. Like, I'm meant to be working on this one called the Lemina project. I've been putting it off for a long time, but it's this big thing for me. So the smaller something is, the more achievable it is. I'm there.
And then that's probably also another nice thing about NFTs in the blockchain, that you can actually sort of finalize it, right? As soon as it's minted, it's finished, it's done.
It's both irritating and like a blessing, because it's like, oh, I made a spelling mistake. Oh, I uploaded the wrong image. It's like, damn, man. But with what is it called? Manifest? I think it's like the Ethereum, like, it's a really cool Ethereum app. You can actually change your metadata and upload new images. It costs money, like €5. You know, it's on Ethereum to update the metadata. But I'm like, yes, thank you. But at the same time, that finality is really cool, because it's like, it's done. As an artist, you're always like, oh, but could I add something else? Could I add another fish here? What about a cloud? what happens if this was black and white? What happens if we change this color? And you have all of these questions. So being on a 100-day project, I wrote a book called The 100-Day Project. It's based on this thing called the 100-Day Project. And the idea is just to spend some kind of time every day for 100 days implementing something into your life that you want to. It could be drawing every day. It could be working on an NFT, learning something, gardening, not drinking alcohol. It could be doing yoga. It just could be, I don't know, being quiet for 5 minutes. Whatever it is, you do it for 100 days. So the idea that I had just one day to do an NFT, and when I was done, I put it on the blockchain and I couldn't change it. It was perfect for this 100-day project. And so that's what I did for 100 days, and I continued doing it after that. And I still find it like, oh, okay, I'm going to write the description. I'm going to write the story. I finished the artwork. Let's mint it. And it just feels good to have it done. Like it's finished. I cannot go back to it.
Yeah, but you know, a 100-day project, I mean, I think you got a lot of those, but I know many people sort of go for it and then sort of halfway stop, or, you know, they can't finish it. But so it's quite an achievement that you actually finish your 100-day project, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so in my book, I write about this, and it's like, there's many reasons why you would stop a 100-day project. Sometimes you just get bored. Sometimes your life changes. You don't have an hour a day anymore. So like, you're allowed to either quit or adapt it, or, you know, change it in some way. But whatever you do, like, leave your 100-day project, whether it's on day 27 or 86 or 100, leave it like having learned a lot, which is a really important process. But yeah, for me, like, I did this thing called the Doodleverse collection. It's 101 pieces. And about halfway through, I created another collection, or started a new collection called Happy Sun. And Happy Sun came from the Doodleverse. And that was a 101 piece collection. So I did that, and then I did another thing. So it started out as one Doodleverse piece per day, and then it morphed into just creating all kinds of stuff for 100 days. And then I kept up creating, but it wasn't as intense as one piece per day. And I found that this year I need to, or I've chosen to just take a more balanced approach towards life. Focusing on my health, focusing on just relaxing, sleeping well, that kind of stuff.
So your art is, you know, all over the place. I think you also collect a lot of art. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, your favorite pieces and how you sort of go about making a piece of art?
Okay, so my favorite pieces in terms of the ones that I've made.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, maybe both also.
All right, so if you search there for a collection called For Love.
Yes.
This is probably my favorite. In the search bar, it's not going to be on the front page of Joe Pigs. It's a 10-piece collection. For Love, FOR space LOVE. I can't see what you're typing. Your screen's really small at the moment.
I'm going to make it bigger.
For Love. All right, so FOR.
Oh, yes, I see. Yeah.
And then no D. There we go. That one there.
This one.
So this is my by far my favorite collection.
Oh yeah.
It's just 10 pieces. And every piece is a chapter in the story. And it was the first collection that I created as a cohesive story. And it's a story about this bot horde that leaves their home because it's crazy chaos, super packed, and they find this new realm and they go there, and what follows is this thing called the darkness, this deathly dark kind of presence, and the rest of the story is told through all of the pieces and how the bots team up with these flaming warriors, these bird-like creatures in the shape of hearts, and they defeat the darkness, and the happy realm is saved. And so, yeah, it's 10 pieces. It's almost like a comic. It's almost like a book. And in this case, I started with this idea of like, what is artificial intelligence? And like, how is it going to help us or not help us? Like, what is the impact that artificial intelligence is going to have? And so all of these ideas in the Doodleverse, everything that I do, like, it's some kind of idea. It could be a dream. It could be something. and it passes through this doodleverse filter. And so things end up looking really comical, really bright, really colorful, doodled, but the underlying themes and issues are still there. In the doodleverse case, a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with was this new Web3 landscape, this Wild West, people running after money and treasures and opportunity. They all have these dreams of, becoming something, grabbing onto something. And I'm kind of just like filtering all of that through this doodleverse, my brain filter, and drawing something that other people can interpret. Like, you look at this heart creature with this massive mouth with these bots swimming around, you're like, that could be anything. Like, that could just be love, that could be jealousy, that could be like love burning, it could be any, and then you're like, oh, but what are those little skulls? Like, is it eating the skulls? Is it burping the skulls? Like what's happening? So typically in my process, I will have this idea and I'll often sketch it down on some paper or in a book. And then I'll begin drawing either in Procreate or Adobe Fresco, and I'll just basically see what comes out. I'll do like a sketch first and then line it second. And a lot of the stuff is on Twitch as well. And I've begun streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch now because I have a bunch of stuff on YouTube already. And yeah, my process is all out there for people to see. But then I get onto line work. Once I've done all the lines, I then start coloring it with flat colors. And once the flat colors are done, I introduce shading or gradients, which I've never done before. And I started during the Doodleverse collection. The first few pieces of the Doodleverse are flat. There are no gradients. And then one day I was like, oh, I need to change something here without a line. How do I do that? So I was like, I want to do a gradient. Procreate doesn't have gradients. So I was like, how? So there's just a few brushes and I tried them out. And I was like, ooh, this looks really cool. And actually that takes me back to being a kid. When I was 6 or 7 years old, I won a coloring in competition because I used these gradients. And as a kid, doing gradients was just amazing with wax crayons. And so, yeah, that's how I got this Doodleverse style. And yeah, I see you're having a look on Foundation here. This is also very colorful, but very abstract. And how I link these two things is that they're both doodling, right? One is just very abstract. The other one is very story-filled, and it has kind of a purpose. Like there are creatures and things that you can visualize, like that's a bird, that's a sun, that's a mountain. Sure, it's a mountain with eyes, like and a flame around it, but it's still something. Whereas these are very abstract. So I've done some collaborative work like this. I've got 2 collections called Visual Deluge. This is the one on Foundation. There's another one on OpenSea. And this for me, it's super expressive. Just experimenting with brushes and colors. And underlying all of this is a grid. And the idea behind this one and this series is that everything that we have in life is just built on top of something else. So the fact that, what we're doing right now is like, it's magic. Like I'm talking to you, sure, we're in the same city, but there are people like hanging out, watching this from around the world, 2 different computers. It's crazy, and yep. When I'm streaming, I'm like, I'm drawing on glass, just somehow drawing on glass. There's a picture forming. I'm going to somehow send that to my computer. I'm going to mint it to a blockchain, and then people are going to buy it, and it's going to appear in my wallet, in my browser. It's like, it's mind blowing. And then you're like, but how? Like, how did all of this happen? And so if you begin to research all the different layers that things are built on top of, you're like, damn, this is just crazy. And so I wanted to represent that, just like layers on top of layers on top of layers, stories, layers, colors, all on top of it, just like packed on top of each other. And this idea first came to me when I was in Berlin, and there's like these tiny little lampposts, like say like this, but then the amount of posters on it is just like, it's crazy. They're just like this poster, another poster, another poster. They end up in these like thick, like 1 or 2 meter wide, like poles, just full of posters, just packed on top of each other. And then somebody had like cut into it. You just see layers and layers and layers. It's beautiful. So that's kind of more about this Visual Deluge series too.
And it's a beautiful metaphor for blockchain itself, right? Because that's basically also layering. That all it is, right? But yeah, right. Your art is mind blowing. It's very stimulating. It's very refreshing. Also, I love the colors. What you do with the colors is really amazing. I love vibrant
Thanks,
colors.
Nick.
And yeah, and I also like the storytelling parts, right? The first ones that we showed with the heart shape and the bird, and I love that stuff. And like people say in the chat, right? You should make a book of it, because I can totally visualize stuff like that. I actually have those books from Juxtapose. I'm not sure if you know those, but they have sort of like similar sort of art, but different. Very colorful, very vibrant, and very sort of surreal and strange and weird. It's really cool. So I think it would work as a book.
Yeah, I'd like to. Are people saying that the For Love story should be a book?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, I think you can make a compendium, right? You can basically put all your art together in one book, and maybe the first part make a storytelling book, and then the second part the rest of your repertoire. But yeah, I think you should definitely go for it. And somebody even says like you should make murals with those colors. So there's also some ideas.
Guys, I have all of these ideas. It's just time. If someone like, people always ask me like, if there's anything I can do to help, like, please let me know. I'm like, cool. Just can you give me 48 hours more in a day? That would be great. Thank you. Like the amount of ideas that I have is just, it's crazy. Like I want to learn how to do airbrushing and spray painting. Like people are like, what do you mean? Like you want to learn how to spray paint? It's pretty easy, but it's like, yeah, but I want to do happy suns, like massive happy suns with spray paint, with the gradients, and make it my own, or airbrush it, that kind of stuff. So I would love to do that kind of stuff. It's just for me all about time.
And like you say, right, you're an artist. I'm a little bit of an artist, but I know what you mean, right? If you want to do a new medium, then you also want to master the medium before you start making stuff, right? You're not just gonna make stuff and then put it out there.
Yeah,
true. So yeah, well, you sort of already answered the question, why AVAX? Do you want anything to add to that, or is it?
Okay, yeah. So guys, if anybody on any chain had started buying my art, I'd have been like, great, let's stay here. This sounds good. But the reason why I found AVAX was because of SARP and because of this mutual friend called Mayer. So he introduced me to SARP. I got into this really cool Discord, which is now called the AVAX Art Hub. Great group of people. It's an amazing group of artists and collectors. So things started to work out really well. I started to make sales. People started to recognize my work in the Avalanche community. I started to go from Discord onto Twitter, and people were talking about me, which is, again, like an amazing feeling. If you buy a piece of art, just tweet it out. Let people know that you've bought their art. I think it's epic. And then as I began to just meet more people, that was the key for me, was the people that I met on Avalanche, first of all, were actually like nice, and they weren't like all trying to spam and shill and just, like rip each other's heads off. It was just really refreshing. So I stayed for the community of people that were there, artists, collectors, people building stuff, really helpful people at times. Like I've chatted to some developers, and they're like, yeah, here's a script to do this. Let me walk you through a bunch of stuff. Artists would help me, if I had any questions, like where to mint, or like, what do you guys think about my pieces? That was super encouraging. So in terms of like a place, or what I find Avalanche good at, is its community. Apparently the tech is amazing. I mean, Amazon are going to be using Avalanche for their AWS kind of stuff. So I don't really understand that kind of stuff, but it's big, it's massive. Like Avalanche is good at something. If you're like a tech guy, check out this thing called subnets. I think they're also like the quickest to finality. Don't ask me about this kind of stuff, but the tech's there. But no matter what the tech would be, if I had found a group of people who were this genuine, who were this like into community on any other chain, I'd have been like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to put my artwork here. So it could have been on Solana, it could have been on Flow, it could have been anywhere. But it was just this Discord server and the people that I interacted with on Twitter that made it feel like a home. So yeah, that would be my reason for choosing Avalanche as an artist.
And I think that's a great reason, right? Because the community is basically the biggest and the most important thing of any project. Is my personal belief, right? If there's no community, it's basically like a ghost city, a ghost town.
Yeah, exactly. And man, I've learned so much about so many things. It's not just about art and the blockchain. It's like marketing and community, making friends, like our mutual friend Forexis. You know, I was chatting to him and he's like, yeah, man, people just say networking, but networking is like super businessy. Just say making friends. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like I'm learning about making friends, which sounds really weird for a 35-year-old to finally be learning about making friends. But yeah, so many people just want to take, even when I get, you know, hundreds, thousands of people saying, hey, I'd like to give you this. I want to offer this. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to cost this and this and this. Just be nice. Just be generous. Just be my friend, basically. So yeah, I've learned so much about, especially community building. I'm still learning a lot about that. I'm learning a lot about marketing, and sometimes also being a leader. Like I shot up to like famedom popularity, like very quickly in the Avalanche space. Like there was one weekend where, I don't know, things went crazy. People were selling my artwork for, let's say, like 100 AVAX after buying it for like 0.5 AVAX or whatever. So in one weekend, there was just a lot of money being spent on my artwork. After that, flip, everything was just crazy. So I learned a lot about like how to deal with that kind of pressure, that kind of fame, if you want to say that. But yeah, it's been a really interesting ride. And then now on the flip side, not being the top of the food chain, like there's other projects that are now at the top. There are other people that are now getting a whole bunch of attention. So yeah, it's just been this incredible, not even a year at the moment. Like I think I got into NFTs maybe the end of February or the end of March last year. I need to probably check when I minted the first one. But yeah, everything is just, it's so good to have learned so much so quickly. And I think for me, the NFT space or the Web3 crypto space, it's like dog years. Like 1 day is 7 days, you know, 1 year is 7 years. So you miss it for a day, you're like, what happened? Oh my goodness. You know, you aren't here for a week or two on holiday and people are like, who's Taptapkaboom? Who is he? You know?
True. And like you said, you learn a lot, but like you also said at the beginning, you teach, right? You have this really cool YouTube channel, which I'm going to put up here. So can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what sort of inspires you to make these classes and to create these cool video content?
So just to clarify, I have a YouTube channel. A lot of it has like the promos of my classes. There's a lot of free stuff on there. But I have an online class website. And I also have all of my classes on a platform called Skillshare.com, where I'm one of the top teachers. And so I remember somebody sitting behind me or standing behind me as I was coding a website. And they were like, dude, I have no idea how you understand this. It's just like flipping matrix to me. And I'm like, this is really easy. Like, see this little thing here? This just means it's like the start of like some kind of a block. And this is the paragraph block. And a paragraph block is different to a heading block. You know, like Microsoft Word, you can make something a heading. They're like, yeah, cool, you got it. Now, you know, a link, you need to link to something. So how you do a link. They're like, oh, wow, that's really easy. And I'm like, yeah, it's really easy. So everything that I want to teach, I have felt frustration at some point, especially as someone with ADHD, whether it's learning how to animate. Like the first time I opened After Effects, I had a look around and I know Illustrator and I know Photoshop, and I looked around and I was like, I have no idea what to do and what to press. I'm just going to close it. So teaching people like how to animate, or in Procreate, there are so many things that you can do, like how to animate something, how to draw something. Hey, there's this new technique, or I really want to try this thing. Let me learn it. Oh, okay, I spent like 40 hours trying to learn what to do. It's actually really easy. Let me teach a 30-minute class or 20-minute class that'll help you like nail this technique. So I used to say like I want to produce stuff that's fun, approachable, and valuable. So like too much fun is like comedy. No one learns anything. Like too much approachable, it feels like, are you teaching kids? You know? And then too much value is like, hi, I have a 70-hour Udemy, and you're like, I don't have 70 hours for anything, man. Like I don't want to know how like the inner workings of Adobe Illustrator works, or I don't really care about the blockchain. I want to mint something and make money. Like, just teach me how to do that. And so that's what I started to do. I started to distill like the really important parts and make short classes that people really enjoy. Like some of my most popular classes are 30 minutes or 20 minutes long. Like 16,000, 30,000 people have taken classes like that. And so, yeah, I started teaching 7, 8 years ago. I was on the verge of becoming like a professor or a lecturer at a university. And I was like, nah, this is going to take too much of my time. So I tried online stuff, and yeah, it worked really well. People responded really well. I got in early on Skillshare.com as well. So yeah, I've been treated really well, paid really well, and I get to produce everything. I get to work with sound, the script, the story, like the hooks, the video, the animation, the drawing, the projects. I get to see what people make, give them feedback. So it's just like the whole everything. And someone with ADHD, I'm like, I love that. I get to do everything. That's great.
Yeah, you learn the most, and it gives you complete control of the project, and you don't have to answer to anybody. But I also you get also all the returns, which is also nice, of course. But you have a very pleasant way of presenting. I mean, you're really good at sort of presenting yourself. But I think the key to making something like this is actually to make something that you would watch yourself, right? That if I would watch this, then somebody else would probably also watch this.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess some people do love the 70-hour Udemy courses. I'm like, I can't. Like, you're talking too slowly. This is too boring. I can't even watch 1 hour of this. Yeah. So I'm just not going to watch it. So I love it when I find a YouTube video or a class and the guy's like, okay, let's get to business. Open up After Effects. This is a composition. This is how you create something. Like, thank you. Like, I've spent 30 seconds here and I'm into it. Like, I have way more knowledge than I did 30 seconds ago. Thank you so much. But now, after creating stuff, especially this last year, I created way more art than I have in my entire life in 2022.
So why do you think that is?
So one is I wanted to be authentic. So I wanted to be me, and I wanted to use my imagination to make money rather than UX, UI, and teaching. The other one was because if I was just a teacher, the only thing I would be able to do in 2 or 3 years' time is teach people how to teach. I wouldn't be able to teach people how to animate because I don't have animation clients. I wouldn't be able to teach people how to illustrate because I don't have illustration clients, etc., etc., etc. So I was like, I want to do something that flexes my creativity. I want to use my imagination, not just for teaching people. So that's what I did. And what I've realized is that what I really enjoy doing is connecting or helping people connect to their inner kids. So whether they're looking at my art and they're like, this one guy said it so well. He was like, your art's not that good. And I was like, okay, like, how is this going to end? He's like, no, what it does is it helps me think about when I was a kid, when I was drawing in my bedroom and thinking of knights and castles and monsters and slaying dragons and stuff. And I'm like, I get that now. So I'm taking stuff from my childhood and bringing it into my adult life, drawing it, and other people are going, oh, that's making me think back to when I was a kid. And so whether I'm teaching or doing my art, I've realized that I want to help people connect to those inner kids, the inner kids that are like, anything is possible. My imagination is on fire. I want to be an astronaut or a fireman, or I want to learn how to play the piano. I want to be a rock star. I'm like, those dreams and goals and childhood fantasies are awesome. I want to fan those. People were so curious when they were kids. They were running around with video cameras, making videos all day, or like building stuff in their gardens, like whatever it was when they were a kid. I'm like, let's get back to that. Let me help you in some little way reconnect with that little kid, like that part in your heart. Let's reawaken that. So whether it's teaching or me creating, I've realized that's what I love doing, and both of them make me come alive, both teaching and creating.
Yeah, you have to inspire people, right? And I think those dreams that you have as a kid are very important drivers also later in your life. If you let go of them, you're basically letting go of life itself almost.
Yeah.
And I also totally sort of agree with what you say about creating, right? It's the best thing in the world to create something and then actually, talking about it, or, that people actually want to have it or ask questions about it, right? What's this? What's that? But I also want to make a remark, like, if you're not an artist and you're looking at a piece of art, it's often very easy to say, oh, this is easy, or, you know, this is not difficult to do. And then, you know, you try it yourself, right? So I think your art is not in any way sort of easy art, or, you know, easy to do.
It's doodling. So for me, I'm like, look, anyone can doodle. Like what
True.
I've learned being a graphic designer and being a web designer is the elements or the ideas around hierarchy and composition and movement and repetition. And I've learned it very intuitively. So I can't say to you, this piece, I drew this one over here and put this element over here because the composition looks good, or because there's this thing called symmetry. I'm just like, yeah, that looks good, you know? And so when people do try their stuff, the untrained eye might be like, yeah, that looks like Taptapkaboom's work. And I'm like, no, it really doesn't. Like that doesn't look good. Like I can see that you've doodled it with like a pen or in Procreate or something, but it doesn't look like my stuff, you know, or my abstract stuff. Like you can't do that very easily and make it look good. You can make a mess and it looks like a mess, but it doesn't look beautiful. Like I would say my stuff looks beautiful when it's abstract. Like my daughter, she draws on an iPad, she makes a mess, but it doesn't look like mine, you know? And there's this saying which I find really, like, it's really hard when people say, how long did that take you? And I'm like, that's kind of offensive, you know, but like I've spent, you know, an hour to 4 hours making this piece, but it's taken me a lifetime to learn how to make this particular kind of piece in the time that it takes me. So yes, it took me an hour, but it also took me a lifetime.
Yeah, you have to build that intuition, right? That you're talking about. So like riding a bike, you know, the first time that you jump on the bike when you're little, you know, you fall over the place, and at some point you learn how to use it. But you know, if you're a racer or like a cross bike, right, then you know that takes it to another level still. So everybody can doodle, of course, but I think also, you know, with critics, often they say like, oh, he did this and that and such and such, but that's looking back later on your work, right? While you're making the work, you're not thinking about those things. Maybe you've internalized them, but you know, you're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna make some symmetry here or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's just the flow of the work.
It is. And for me, I'm very intuitive. Even with like UI, UX, I'm like, I'm putting buttons here, I'm making the header this big. And people ask me why. And I'm like, because it looks good, it works, you know. So I've never taught a class on that stuff, and I've spent 10 years of my life doing it because it's so intuitive. I'm like, I know there are reasons why it looks good, but I don't know the reasons. Just like when someone asks an English speaker, so what conjunction did you use? Are you using the past, present, participle? And they're like, what? They're like, I just speak, man, and it sounds good. And you're like, yeah, but you know, when you use adjectives, like you use them in a specific order. You're like, do I? Well, yeah, I do. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm like, it's just natural for me most of the time. I haven't learned.
Actually, those kind of things can take you out of the flow, right? When you sort of become too conscious of them. Yeah. And so, you know, I want to sort of round up the interview, but it's sort of a tradition on our channel to sort of speculate a little bit on the market. If you're up for it, what do you think, you know, where we are and where we're going, for example, with Bitcoin, or maybe, you know, whatever you want to talk about concerning the market?
So I guess we have to say this is definitely not financial advice from this ADHD artist. Don't take my advice, but this is what I hope. I hope that things are just going to go slowly up. It's not going to be like a steep bull run. It's more going to be like a bull jog, you know, like the bulls are going to be trotting along, going up the mountain, having a bit of a party slowly. So
with the bears.
Yeah, with the bears. Yeah, maybe it's like a, you know, like a shared market. So yeah, that's what I hope will happen. And I think maybe in like a year's time, people will be like, damn, it's gone up like 200% or a lot of like 100%, 200%, 300%. But it didn't feel like it. It was just like a little bit every day, a little bit every week. Like, damn, okay. So
I missed it.
Yeah, but maybe they'll be like, I guess I could get in now because it'll keep on going up. So yeah, that's what I think will happen. But I also think there's gonna be more use cases for crypto everything. we talk about the normies, the people who aren't into crypto. They do not care about blockchain or crypto. Most people don't want to speculate or gamble at all. So I think there's going to be a large, amount of people who are like, can I just exchange my euro for a digital euro? That's all I want. I don't want to hear about your Avalanche, anything, or your Bitcoin, because I don't want it to be worth 100 euros today and 4,000 euros tomorrow. And then the next day it's worth 2 euros, because that sucks. I can't live my life looking at these charts and having heart attacks when things are good and heart attacks when things are bad. I just want my euros, please. And I want to buy art with my euros. So on Avalanche, I haven't seen this. On Solana, there's a website called Form Function where you can list your stuff in USDC. And I think that is a really smart move. So it means you are speculating, if you are a speculator, on the value of the art. Whereas some people have bought a Happy Sun at 10 or at 30 maybe, Avalanche or AVAX, and then they sell it for 10. And people are like, you're crazy. But in the amount of dollars, they made a profit. And it's like it hurts your head, when you try and think about those kind of dynamics. But then most people, they use Instagram, Facebook, they watch Netflix. They do not care about what's happening on in the background. They don't care that it's using some kind of secure protocol. They don't care that it's using Amazon Web Services. They don't care that there are data centers around all over the show. They don't care that it's React or React Native. They're like, I just want to know that when I click this button, it likes the flipping photo and it tells other people that I've liked the photo. Great. So if we can help people add value to their lives in some way, and it uses blockchain or Web3 or crypto, fantastic. But I think the majority of people are just like, I don't care about crypto and all this like up and downing. Like, just give me something that, will help me.
I totally agree, and I suggest everybody to start following Taptapkaboom.
Yeah.
Well, we got it over here. So follow the account. It's also linked down here, and you can win a really awesome NFT by Taptapkaboom. I'll explain it later after the show with a tweet. So look out for that tweet. Then you can win this awesome NFT by Taptapkaboom, original. I'm losing my voice a little bit.
But you haven't been speaking at all. I've been so excited speaking forever here. Why are you losing your voice, Nick?
But I really enjoyed the chat, and it's a really, like I said, you make amazing art. I also love that you're on AVAX, right? It's a blockchain that we don't always talk about. It should get some more attention.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we missed that you want to highlight?
No, I think it's good. You guys should, like, for the non-speculators or people who are tired of speculating, go buy my book. It's called The Perfect 100-Day Project. It'll help you out crazily. Like, I really believe in it. The official 100-Day Project is coming up at the end of February. So I will be partaking in that. Most likely, I'll be working on a project called Happy Sun, which is a 101-piece collection that I did last year, but I'm now going to make it into a global brand, like probably very slowly. But, I want to start getting it outside of blockchain, outside of Avalanche. Sure, inside of Avalanche too, inside of the blockchain too. Like, I think it's really important, but not just for Web3 people. I want to be like, let's put Happy Suns everywhere, on bridges, on cars, on shirts, on everything. So that is my focus for this year. This Happy Sun project and this idea of spreading happiness or spread the happy. I have a bunch of stuff I'm doing as well. I'm working on a collaboration project at the moment, which is very fun, and I can't tell you anything about it, but it is to do with dreams and profile pictures. And
you have to come back on when you're done with that.
Okay.
It sounds really cool. I love that. And also, right, I'll link all the resources down below in the underneath the video, so that people can, of course, get started, learn all the things that you teach, and look at your amazing artwork, and maybe also buy one or two. And we should do this again in the future.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Nick. Like, I know that, time has flown, and I appreciate the questions. It's been an honor to be on here. And yeah, you're a great host. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank everybody for watching, and see you on the next episode.